Welcome, wrestling fans, to another episode of Friday Evening's Undercard. A different one here for the ones watching on YouTube. We are on video this time for the first time. Eric, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a heck of a day trying to get the kids to sleep. They're not going to sleep, but hey, here we are. Let's rock and roll with this. So, fans, what we are doing tonight is the top 10. Did you do 10 or did you do like me and go with 11?
I did 10.
Okay, Eric did 10, and I cheated a little bit. The top 10 SummerSlam matches. That's what we're going to do today. Obviously, SummerSlam is the next pay-per-view on the schedule coming up in August. I'm assuming it's going to be another empty arena show like they've been doing.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, with the numbers going up and everything we're seeing, I think until we get a vaccine, I don't know when we're going to actually see large crowds like we're used to, which has created, quite the dynamic, not only in sports, but, especially in professional wrestling.
Yeah, it has. And, obviously you have the NBA and all the professional sports leagues. They're trying to do their little bubbles.
Mhm.
And was it baseball? The Blue Jays, I think they can't find a place to play, basically.
Yeah, supposedly they were going to be playing in Pittsburgh, but then that got nixed. So there's even some talk they might even be playing in Charlotte. So
Now, that would be interesting if they go to Charlotte. I wonder if they can do that because I heard they were going to try to go to Buffalo,
Mhm.
obviously just right across the border. But there was
Right.
some issue with Buffalo that it didn't have enough connectivity to do
Mhm.
like the replays and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I
sure
think the
how.
one thing I think you'd have to find a facility that can handle that. Even though, I mean, I think Charlotte's AAA, there's still a big difference between a AAA stadium and the amenities you have in a major league stadium, especially for hooking up, programming, things like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because the Buffalo Stadium is a AAA stadium. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's one of the best. So, I don't know how that's gonna. I have no idea how that's gonna work.
Well, maybe if they go down to Charlotte, they can rename themselves, the Charlotte Flares,
That would be an interesting one.
or call them the Nature Boys.
Very true. Spoiler alert: Ric Flair is not on my WrestleMania card or
You
a
mean your SummerSlam?
SummerSlam card. He wasn't on the
All right.
WrestleMania card either, but the SummerSlam card, yeah, SummerSlam even.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of big moments at SummerSlam, though. I think I would always kind of slot it, for me, at least with WWE, it's Mania. To me, Royal Rumble, and
Yeah,
then SummerSlam. I think in
yeah,
terms of kind of how it would slot in there. I know some people kind of view it as sometimes even the number 2 show of the year.
right,
Uh,
right.
and I think you can make that argument. To me, actually, truth be told, the Royal Rumble is my favorite event of them all.
Yeah,
By far.
especially these last couple of years when they started putting them in the stadium.
Yeah.
Once they took them out of the arenas and started putting them in the baseball stadiums, or I think they went back to the Alamo Dome, which they've done
Mhm.
before. That kind of put it on another level. I don't know if they'll ever try to take SummerSlam outside. There's not many places they could do it.
Yeah, and hey, to be honest, the summer you run into issues with heat, you run into issues with weather.
Afternoon
Very,
thunderstorms. We had one of those here today.
yeah, we had the same thing here. So I mean, you're
You
limited
know,
in where you want
it
to put it. And
it only lasted maybe 30 minutes, but I mean, lightning popping and
mhm.
tremendous rain and wind and everything else. And I mean, if it starts raining at an outdoor event, luckily they've never had that happen, but I guess
Yeah,
if it just started raining, you just keep going.
mhm.
But if it starts thundering and lightning, now not only do you have to get all the production people out of there, but you got to get 80,000 people moved somewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you've seen that with college football stadiums where you
yeah,
get early season games, you get thunderstorms rolling through. They've got to basically shelter in place
right.
anywhere between 40 to 80,000 people. And
Well,
you're
I
stuck with that.
was at, and this was a weird year because it was there was a couple different things that happened. At least I think it was this year. I was at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the All-Star race one year when they had a thunderstorm come through, and you're talking 140,000 people
Yeah.
had to clear out of the stands and go, hide in the concourse. I mean, that was something else. And I believe that was the same year that happened before the race. After the race, I think was when they had the pedestrian bridge collapse. And
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember when that happened.
I remember we had stayed in the seats, and so because that was the bridge we went across to get out of there. So I mean, we probably would have been on it, or looking at it when the thing collapsed. But anyway, hey, how about a SummerSlam card?
Yeah. Now, I kind of went back and, it's weird when I think of SummerSlam matches. A lot of them don't resonate as much off the top of my head. I had to kind of go back and look at some cards and watch some matches again. And, I think with Mania, you can always think, hey, what was the main event of that Mania?
Right.
SummerSlam was a little harder at times. So I had to do a little bit of research on this one. There wasn't as many ones indelible that I think, we think of like WrestleMania moments, if you will. But I think, I put together some matches that I liked, and hopefully, the listeners and viewers will agree, disagree, but if anything, might give you some ideas of some stuff to watch down the road. Because, hey, we've got plenty of time on our hands.
We do have plenty of time, being kind of sheltered in place a little bit. I think you guys up in Pennsylvania are still a little more restricted than we are down here in Virginia.
Yeah, we're, we got hit pretty hard, in the eastern part of the state. I'm kind of more in the south central part, but it's tough to say with everything rising, what's going on, and Maryland's just 10 minutes down the road from me, so
yeah,
it's kind of, we're all interconnected in some respects.
Yeah. So, hey, what's your first match? And if the listeners hear some typing on the keyboard, I'm putting these into a file so I can save them for later.
Well, the first match I'm going to go with, this is going to be a shocker for a lot of people. I'm going 1992, Wembley Stadium, Bret Hart, British Bulldog.
Okay.
Start strong. Good match. I think when you read a little bit more about it, in Bret Hart's book, he talks about how Davey Boy was not maybe in the best
impaired
mental shape going on, which actually when you watch the match and you figure out that the guy's out of his gourd and he still puts on that match,
right
adds that's got to give it an extra star right there.
It should. It was already close to 5-star match.
Yeah. And
but
it was a match I loved as a kid.
Right.
I didn't always watch the pay-per-views as a kid, so I'd wait for them to come out on video. So you would have to kind of have that little lag when they would come out on video. You go to Blockbuster and rent the video. And that was always a match I loved. My gosh, it's Bret Hart, and plus Bulldog was, like a god over there.
Yeah, he was. Well, I wasn't going to start with this one. I was probably going to go out of order a little bit, but I guess now since we're here, I'll just go in order. And yeah, that same match was the first match that I put down. Like, okay, you got to have this. And for the Intercontinental Championship, I don't remember if you mentioned that. So yeah, Bret against Davey for the Intercontinental Championship, 1992. 80-odd thousand people in attendance. It just, the whole atmosphere with that SummerSlam was pretty crazy.
And it was a hot crowd too. They were in it. It's a fun show to watch. And
yeah, top to bottom, that may be one of the better SummerSlams they put on, because you had the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them, against Money Inc. That was the opening match. I'm not going to remember every one of these matches, but I do remember some of them. It's Shawn Michaels against Rick Martel in a match where they couldn't hit each other in the face.
Yeah.
And you had the classic overacting by Sensational Sherry on the outside where she passed out. And then who was it? You had Macho Man against Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
The championship. Undertaker against Kamala.
Who doesn't love that classic feud?
you know, they milked that feud for a lot of money and a lot of time. And that was the one I think where Hogan, Undertaker rode down the aisle in the back of a hearse.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, you had some pretty cool entrances all together. I mean, you know, Legion of Doom came down the motorcycles. That was pretty cool. And yeah, you know, actually, when you think about it, 1992 is a pretty solid year for WWE pay-per-views.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe the greatest Royal Rumble ever in 92.
Oh, no doubt.
You've got maybe the greatest SummerSlam ever. WrestleMania 8 wasn't a bad card necessarily. I mean, you had Macho Man and Flair.
Macho and Flair definitely stole the show.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, it was a solid year for pay-per-views, and it was also, you know, I mean, for us, that was kind of right in our kind of golden era of being, you know, we're younger fans, but
Yep.
it was just like, it's like when wrestling was just awesome because you didn't fully understand all of what's going on. It was just, you know, it's what it was.
Yeah. And now that you say that, that's got to be fairly unique that you had both WrestleMania and SummerSlam in the same year where the WWE Championship was not the main event at either show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true.
Because they were both just in the middle of the card.
Yeah.
So that's got to be pretty unique.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's ever happened, you know, before.
But 92, I mean, great year for pro wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, especially there for those events.
Yep.
You know, some of the storylines might not have been the greatest in the world, but they certainly delivered on the big four shows when they needed to.
Yeah, they did. So what do you have for your second match?
Second match I'm going with is the ladder match from 1995, Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels.
Okay, 1995, Shawn against Razor. Talk us through that match a little bit because I have not watched that match in quite some time and I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, really,
we probably should have given each other a heads up on some of these matches.
Yeah, we probably should have.
So we could have gone back and watched them rather than just blindsiding each other here.
Well, what we have, you know, it's the second of the two ladder matches. I mean, everybody knows the one they did at WrestleMania. Some will argue this is maybe even a greater match than what they had at Mania, which is often considered one of the top matches in Mania. I think just two good workers, a unique environment. And I think the worry you would have with a match like that, especially if you're doing what you did before, is how do you top it or how do you make it different rather than just doing the same match again? They found a way. I thought it was, you know, great match with two great workers. And I think you can make the argument, you know, we call Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania. He had some great SummerSlam matches as well.
He did.
You could also call him Mr. SummerSlam if you want.
Yeah, for sure. All right. For my second one, since you went with the ladder match, I'll go with the ladder match that I had on my card from 2009. CM Punk against Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. Mm-hmm. That is the match that I have. I don't know if you want to say main event, but I guess that's the world title match that I put on the card, which is going to spoil a lot of my results because that's telling you there's going to be some pretty big matches, maybe even big names that are going to end up left out here.
Yeah, you know, I think two great workers. And that was really a good storyline too. You know, you think about these two individuals, you got kind of, you know, Punk, straight edge.
Yep.
You've got Hardy, which we don't need to go into his issues he's had in the past. Which
not they're kind straight of edge.
Yeah, they're kind of going back to that well again. I always kind of cringe a little bit with when they do kind of the angles with his personal demons there. I mean, obviously you sign off on it, but it's always, I don't know, it's always kind of a little bit of cringe-worthy issue. But I think Punk and, you know, Hardy really played it well. And I think that's when Punk, I think what's great with Punk as a heel, he's not saying things that are necessarily wrong or bad. It's just how
Yeah,
he's carrying it and the way he carries himself that makes him the heel. And I think sometimes the most effective heels are the ones that when they say something, you go, actually, you know what? The guy's got a point.
yeah,
I think I like that kind of heel rather than just, the chicken heel that just does dastardly things. That anybody can do that.
Right. All right. What do you have for third match?
Well, looking at, matches, a championship match that I actually enjoyed from 2013, Daniel Bryan and John Cena. Right in the, what I like about it is, of course, we were at WrestleMania 30.
Right.
So this sort of is part of that build-in with the momentum of Bryan that we're going to see. He's, of course, going to win the title. But then, of course, the Authority comes in. Randy Orton cashes in Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And, he'll lose. But I thought it was a great match. Cena, for as much as people don't like him, there's a reason they call him Big Match John. And he can go in the ring. And I think, obviously, nobody questions Bryan's ability between the ropes. So I think you're having two really good workers. I think they told a really good story, too. And I like kind of the dynamic that, Bryan goes over, you get this great moment. Oh my God, our guy's got it. And then the music hits.
Yeah. You get it taken away.
That was, I kind of like that. I think it worked well.
And I can't think of one offhand. That is probably the highest profile, just flat back loss that John Cena ever had.
Yeah.
I can't think of another one.
I mean, he had other matches, but not without the title. You factor the titles involved, and
but how many of those did he lose basically with no controversy?
Yeah, good point.
Because if you think about it, the one that comes to mind, obviously he lost the belt to Punk in 2011. Mm-hmm. Was it 11 at Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
And you had John Laurinaitis do the run-in, and then he mugs John Laurinaitis outside the ring and says the thing to Vince. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets back in the ring, he gets basically sucker punched, and Punk gets the pin.
Right.
So, that was kind of a controversial win. Daniel Bryan came out of the corner, hit him with that knee, and 1, 2, 3. It was flat. Yep. There was no controversy. There was nothing to it.
Yeah, and I think they put the controversy at the end of the match, which I think worked well. And really, it doesn't hurt Cena. I think one thing, too, that I think later, I think this is still when Cena's still the top guy in the company.
For sure.
For the most part, I mean, he's still the face. They're starting to make that kind of transition moment. I think they're probably thinking that, his years as our face are going to be less than what we've had him for now. And so I think it was a good transition. And I think, it was an entertaining match, as I said, with two good workers.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. For my third match, I'll go with a Cena match too. 2016 against AJ Styles.
Yeah, that was actually one I had on my list. I did it a little differently where I didn't know I couldn't not use guys over and over again. I would be a terrible promoter. I'd be like, you're running out 4 times tonight, Michaels.
Yeah. Hey, Shawn, you got to work 4 times. What? Yeah. 4 times.
Yeah, 4 times, but don't worry about it. So I kind of went just what
you're
I thought.
Still only getting the same pay.
Yeah, still getting the same pay. That's like Memphis deal right there. But I mean, for me, it's a great match. Once again, two good workers. I mean, I think the same dynamic you have in 2013, you can make the argument Daniel Bryan was the best wrestler in the world with what was going on.
Absolutely.
I think, in these last couple of years, I think you can make the argument AJ Styles is right up there as one of the best in the world. What he can do in the ring, what he can do in a match. And I think it says something. You put a guy like Cena who style-wise doesn't really fit either Bryan or AJ.
No, he doesn't.
Cena's more of kind of a brawler. He is athletic, but to be able to get guys, sometimes you go, maybe the styles don't fit. Cena makes it work. And I think that's something that is impressive, that he's able to have matches with kind of monster heels if he needs it. But he
Yeah.
can also have matches with really more technicians and more, uber athletic guys. And
True.
says a lot
And
about him.
he has,
Yeah.
he's wrestled Mark Henry, he's wrestled Big Show.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's had any 5-star matches with Big Show, but
Yeah, who
he
does?
has wrestled him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to make it, and also I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in, how technically sound it looks, how good it is. For me, I think also at the end of the day, they have to tell a story.
Yeah.
And to me, I can take a match that maybe isn't a technical masterpiece, but if it's a fun, entertaining match, hey, I'm entertained. That's what I'm looking for,
Well, you talk about technical matches and stuff like that. One of the guys from Greensboro at the promotion up there, he posted online something like, "Hey, who's somebody I should watch matches from and stuff like that?" And I said, "Watch matches from Hulk Hogan,
Mm-hmm.
especially like pre-1987 Hulk Hogan, because here's the thing: Hulk may have only had 6 or 7 moves, but those 6 or 7 moves got him over
Mm-hmm.
to the point that on a Friday night in February of 1988, 35 million people sat down in front of their television sets to watch him wrestle a guy who could barely walk.
Yeah.
Like, that is how you do it in wrestling. You get 2 guys to the point that they are larger than life. All these flips and everything else, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But put butts in seats.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 75,000 or 80,000 or 93,000, however many people showed up at WrestleMania 3, they were there because of Hulk Hogan and his 6 moves.
Yeah.
Wrestling Andre the Giant, who by that point could barely walk.
And I think too, believe me, I love super athletic guys out there in the ring that can do amazing things. But I think ultimately your moves have to convey the story. You can't just do moves for move's sakes. Otherwise, it's just a spot fest. I think if the move furthers the story, adds drama to what you're doing, that works. And I think you're right. I mean, nobody's ever going to call Hogan and Andre a technical masterpiece, but very few people are going to question whether or not that's one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. The story was that good.
Yeah, and just the build to it, and it's the same thing. Obviously, we had Extreme Rules. What is this, Wednesday? So it would have been 3 days ago. You had a tables match to start off the show, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I missed it, but is there any real reason to watch it? I saw the Dudley Boys and the Hardys do a tables match 21 years ago.
Oh, crap. I got that coming up, too. Don't worry.
And I will guarantee you those 4 guys, and I'm not saying they're not good workers, I'll guarantee you those 4 guys didn't do a better tables match than Matt and Jeff and the Dudleys did at the Royal Rumble, 99 or 2000 or whenever it was. No, they didn't. It just, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where, the challenges with pro wrestling, how much is new? How much can you do something that's brand new in wrestling? And that's hard, but I think what you have to do is find a way to put your own spin on it, your own mark on it. And I think sometimes, less is more sometimes. Moves guys do regularly 20 years ago was a super high spot that everybody's going, oh my God, did you just see what happened?
Absolutely.
Now they're just doing it, in the mid card on SmackDown.
Yeah. Now you see bigger moves. Yeah, in the opening match of SmackDown, job guys are doing it.
And so I think, you've got to find. I think when it comes down to it, guys got to find their own way to make it theirs. In a match, and that's sometimes easier said than done. I think the great workers find a way to do that.
Right.
And I think that's where, whether it's tweaks to your character or little things you do in the ring, that's what people are going to remember. And those are the things that, I don't know how much you can teach that. Sometimes it's one of those things where you can have two wrestlers that have all the skills in the world, but having that mental aspect, how do you get over the crowd? How do you do these little nuances here and there? That's the difference between the great ones and the guys we're not talking about tonight.
Yeah, that's true. All right, what do you have for your fourth match?
My fourth match was actually, we'll just go ahead and go with it. Speaking of a TLC match, we've got the Dudley Boys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian for the tag straps in 2000 at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I debated a lot about having this one on there. I didn't put it on there for a couple of reasons. I didn't put it on there because I did put it on the WrestleMania card.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left it off of there for that reason. And I was still going by the WrestleMania
Right,
rules
yeah.
where I had Jeff in the title match. And so
Yeah.
I left this one off. But yeah, I remember that match. It's not as iconic as the WrestleMania match from 6 months later, but it was, yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, and I think, we think about the one that happened later, but in many ways, this is kind of the test run for that.
Yeah.
And once again, we talk about how do you take something that's a great match and then make it even better.
Right.
Watch the two matches. I would say if you took the SummerSlam match and put it on Mania, this was the Mania match. I think people say, this is one of the better matches ever in Mania history.
Yeah.
And then these guys, if you had me say, hey, do you want the Mania one or the SummerSlam? Obviously, you go with Mania. But it just showed that, once again, they were able to expand what they did in the ring, their storytelling, to make something even better, which is not easy to do.
Well, and it's crazy how the build went between these three teams anyway, because you had Matt and Jeff against Edge and Christian in a ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Matt and Jeff against the Dudleys in a tables match. And then you had the ladder match at WrestleMania 16, which was supposed to be just a ladder match, but they broke out the furniture for that one too. And then you have this one, and then you have you go forward to Mania, and then it kept going.
Yeah.
You had Jeff Hardy against Edge in singles ladder matches up until, I think the mid 2000s. I don't remember when the last time those two guys, went at it, but I mean, it was quite a while. I mean, that was a long time that those groups were going at it.
Yeah, and I think you sometimes get to the situation where, okay, it's the same guys involved over and over again. You get bored with it. I don't think anybody ever got bored with these teams and these individuals working together.
No, I don't think so.
Because I think they found little wrinkles here and there to always keep it different. Also, it's all good workers. I mean, and good teams. You have some individuals that have had success as singles. I mean, Bubba Ray Dudley later has a singles run. Of course, Edge, one of the greatest of all time, and Jeff Hardy has had singles success. But I think the fact that they were able to be these really iconic teams in an era that we don't really think about tag team wrestling today. We think about kind of golden eras of tag team wrestling. I don't know if this is mid 80s golden era, but man, there's some great tag teams going in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. I mean, although I would wonder, I'd have to go back and look. I mean, how deep was that tag team rank beyond these three?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, at the same time, how deep was the singles ranks beyond three or four guys during this time too?
Yeah, I think you would have with these guys around the same area. You also have the New Age Outlaws. A solid tag team, certainly very entertaining. This is of course a little after that, but I mean, there were some solid teams out there at this time, and I think also for them to WWE has never call them a tag team territory.
No,
ever. And for them to really, for tag teams to steal the show there says something, because that
Yeah.
rarely happened.
And noteworthy, where was that SummerSlam located?
Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Dude, it was in Raleigh.
It was in Raleigh?
Yeah. Yeah, that 2000
Wow.
SummerSlam was at the Entertainment and Sports Arena, as it was
Really?
called then. Yeah. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. I
Wow.
can't even I don't even know what name it is now. The
I think it's PNC Arena now.
PNC Bank Arena, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. It went through a few.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been through a few names.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. So for my fourth match, SummerSlam 1991, the Legion of Doom against the Nasty Boys for the tag team championship.
Nice.
It's not the best tag team match there's ever been at SummerSlam. Let's just be honest with that. But it does get the Legion of Doom in there.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of matches that I thought about including. I wanted to get a demolition match in there, just for the entrance music.
Yeah.
But the only two matches that they worked were against the Hart Foundation. And so, I didn't include that because of Bret Hart. So yeah, that's that. That's kind of why we're left with Legion of Doom and the Nasty Boys.
And certainly not not going to be a spot fest, but pretty hard hitting teams.
Yes.
These are some pretty tough guys in that ring. And also, when you want to talk about awesome intro music, Legion of Doom's WWE theme was awesome.
It is not as good as Iron Man, but I guess they weren't going to pay the money for Iron Man.
No, they weren't. No. And also, one thing about it, WWE likes to sort of create these guys in their own image. They're not the Road Warriors. They're the Legion of Doom. The same act, but little tweaks here and there, and I think that's just, Vince likes to have his stamp on these guys, whether they've had success or not. There's very few that you would say someone that had success in another territory or another federation comes into the WWF or WWE, pretty much same character, no change, nothing, and they remain the same. Very few.
No, he changes everybody. I mean, talking about that 1991 card, obviously you had the Texas Tornado on there. Of all people, why would you change the name of a Von Erich when you got to think that the name Von Erich's the only thing he's got going for him, really?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're not going to bill him as the previous NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, I don't understand why you're bringing him in.
Yeah, and and also you wonder too. By that time he was not the Kerry Von Erich that he was a few years earlier. I mean, I'm not sure when he had the motorcycle accident that he basically lost his foot.
Yeah,
which I always say, the fact that you can watch one of his matches from that era and not tell he's missing a foot is pretty significant. I mean, that's something you kind of need as a wrestler.
Yeah,
you need balance.
2 feet.
Yeah, you need balance.
2 feet. Well, did he lose the whole foot, or was it just like the front, like part of it, like the toes?
I think it was like the front half.
Okay, yeah, because I don't see how you'd keep your boot on if you lost your whole foot.
No, it's like he still has, like, I guess the heel. Okay. But even then, you think about, you don't have your toes. That's your balance.
Yeah.
That's how your foot works. And that was, and I think, and he's a guy, once again, you talk about personal demons. And I mean, we could do a whole episode on the Von Erichs, but I mean, had a great look, solid in the ring. Certainly had a lot of potential, and just, it never really worked out.
Yeah. That's kind of a bummer as far as he goes. Kerry Von Erich is not on my card.
Oh, well.
What do you have for your fifth match?
My fifth match is um, one that, as I said earlier, we would also often call Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. This is one Michaels and Triple H 2002, the unsanctioned street fight. Michaels coming back. The question, how much has this guy got in the tank? Is he going to be the same Michaels he is? And, a lot of times we see guys after a long layoff, or especially with the injury he had, it's not like he was recovering from an ACL.
Right. Yeah.
He's got some stuff fused in his back.
Yeah. He had that was a pretty substantial injury he had there.
And I think what you saw is he tweaked his style a little bit. He's not the Michaels of the early or mid 90s, but he still had enough of those moves that went, man, that's still Shawn Michaels. And I think it was just a personal feud between the two. The past they had, it was a great story and a great match. I think with the end of it, you're going, man, it looks like Michaels hasn't missed a step.
Yeah, that was a really good match. I remember that match. I thought about including the Elimination Chamber match from the next year, but I didn't. So for my fifth match, Randy Savage against Dusty Rhodes from 1990.
Oh, nice.
This is going in the middle of the card. I guess this can be your bathroom break match, but there's so much going on around this match. You get the promo from DiBiase, where she fought out Sapphire, and she comes out dressed in this dress and these diamond rings and everything with this bag full of money. And I think Sensational Sherry was standing there. I'm sure Virgil was standing there. Oh no, Sherry would have been at ringside with Macho, so it would have been Virgil standing there with DiBiase. I'm sure he was waiting to get to an Olive Garden in that town.
You know what? You got to try the meat sauce.
Got to try the meat sauce and the breadsticks. Those Olive Garden breadsticks are like Chris Jericho's talents. Unlimited. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Why hasn't Olive Garden just made Virgil their spokesman? Olive Garden, do it. It'll be, and what they need to do is have, you go in there and get your Virgil commemorative cup. I'd go in there, collector's edition, get all 8.
Collector's edition a Virgil beer glass.
Yeah.
We got to keep it. This is Olive Garden. We got to keep it classy.
Well, I don't know. I'll even take a plastic container that you can bring your meat sauce home in.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That'd be fitting.
Yeah.
That'd be fitting. So that's the lone appearance of Virgil on this card.
Well,
his 1992 match against Nails is not going to be here.
Well, what are we even doing here for not putting that one on the list?
I know, but wait a minute. Not that it's going on here, but wasn't the 92 SummerSlam the time that he finally went over DiBiase?
No, because 92 DiBiase was tied up.
No, I'm sorry, 91.
I think so. Yeah, where you have Roddy Piper on. Is that the one where Piper's on commentary?
That's the one where Piper's on commentary, and Heenan at some point walks to the back and get with the big gold belt and has Hulk Hogan slam the door in his face. But I was thinking, I think that's the one where Virgil finally got it over on DiBiase.
You know what? Since I had since you picked one I did with Cena and AJ, maybe I'll just add that onto my list just so we get Virgil on this card.
You'll add Virgil and adding Virgil, and okay, is that your next match? 1991 Virgil.
Since we had overlap there, I'm gonna go. We're gonna bring Virgil on this card. Of course, when he gets on the card, he gets extra money, which Virgil likes to refer to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a family show.
This is a family show.
He needs to be on the card so he can get that extra meat sauce.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what's that? Your sixth match? Okay, what do I want to go with for my sixth match? Okay, I'm gonna start the We'll start the women's matches. All right. Women's Tag Team Championship, SummerSlam 2019. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Billie Kay and Peyton Royce.
Nice.
We'll get to the point in a minute, and it will be evident why I had to go with 11.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the one. Tag Team Championship. I kind of wanted to include it anyway, but I would have included, if we ever do one of these for the Royal Rumble, I will definitely include the match from 1988 with the original edition of the Women's Tag Team Championship. But that's what we've got here.
Nice. All right. So what are we up to now?
See, let me type this up here. I didn't type this part of the program onto the thing. You can hear nice typing noises there coming through your podcast world. Okay, we match number 7.
Yes.
What do you have?
I'm going CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar, 2013 SummerSlam.
Okay, that's a good call. CM Punk. I remember that match.
Yeah, I liked it. You know, you've got kind of the issue with, you know, Punk kind of being left out in the cold with Heyman. You've got this, and the way the match goes, I mean, you know, Punk's just taking so much punishment from Lesnar, but he still keeps coming back, and there's that kind of fleeting moment where you think he's about to pull this thing off, and then Lesnar just goes in for the kill. And
yeah,
but still a great match. I mean, as I said, it tells a great story, and you know, I think what's interesting, we've often talked about this. Some of Lesnar's best matches are with more athletic guys.
yeah.
Think about guys like Punk, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan. You know, these guys work really well with Lesnar, and I think he doesn't get overshadowed by the athleticism either, because for as big as he is a freak athlete.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, people that size shouldn't be able to do the things he does.
No, but he almost broke his neck trying to do that one time.
Yeah, but the fact that he could even pull it off and didn't break his neck, you know.
Yeah, that says something. Apparently, he actually pulled that off a couple times in OVW. That's why he tried it again.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, good match, good entertaining match. You know, and I think, of course, this is sort of at the tail end of Punk's run.
Yep.
With the company.
Yeah, he didn't have much longer
to
hang around.
But still, you know, kind of one of the last major moments, I think, with Punk before he leaves in some respects.
Yeah. All right, number 7 for me. Again, 2019. Becky Lynch against Natalya for the Raw Women's Championship in a submission match.
Nice.
So same thing. I was kind of going down the line. I was trying to pick a women's championship match. There have not been very many iconic women's championship matches at SummerSlam. That really none at all. Like even back when it was Trish and Lita and stuff like that, they just never really had a match at SummerSlam. So that's why I went with this one for the Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch against Natalya. That's my 7th match.
Excellent.
So what do you have for number 8?
Number 8, I'm going back to 1994. Owen Hart and Bret Hart in the stage for the championship. I think when you look at this, I think if you would always say Owen and Bret, people would their match at WrestleMania. But people don't forget that even though Owen wins, he doesn't win a title. He doesn't win, you know, he just beats his brother.
Yep.
And then Bret goes on later that night to win the title. So I think this set up that even more of that jealousy of, you know, I am better than my brother. I'm going to take his title.
Yeah.
and we put it in a steel cage. I mean, that's just classic booking. I still have a lot of fond feelings for the big blue cage
Yeah.
uh, of the WWF. To me, I just it's sort of those iconic things of your childhood.
It was
Uh,
apparently a disaster to work in, though. That's why they went away from it.
yeah, I can imagine. It doesn't look like it has a lot of give. You
No,
know,
and I guess they said when you try to run to the ropes, it would all you just beat the daylights out of the back of your head
yeah.
if your opponent was whipping you to the ropes.
But I think two tremendously talented workers that had a lot of chemistry, and I think it's always hard when you do feuds with siblings because it can go, it can almost just be it's not believable.
Yeah.
This one, I think you felt that it was believable,
Yeah.
and and they made it believable. It wasn't over the top. I mean, I think it was just the fact that Owen will show I'm the best in the world. It's not
Yep.
my brother Bret, it's me. And I think it's one too that once again the idea of the heel is showing traits that a lot of people could relate to. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm an only child, but I can understand the dynamic of
Right.
kind of the older, the oldest is the kind of the golden child, gets all the accolades. The younger, sibling doesn't get that and wants to sort of step out of the shadow and show that I am the best in this
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. So part of the genesis for me sending a message to you, somebody posted on a Facebook group. They were talking about the 1991 match, Bret Hart against Perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, he said something like he thinks maybe it's like one of the 10 best matches of all time. And I mean, okay, everything about wrestling is an opinion, so but I'm like, man, it's definitely not in my top 10 all time. And I'm like, I don't even know if it would be one of my top 5 Bret Hart matches.
Yeah.
Um, and then I even started like thinking about it, and I'm like, it wouldn't even be my top 10 Bret Hart match because he's got a couple of matches against Stone Cold that are
Yeah.
incredible. He's got a couple of matches against Davey that are incredible. A couple of matches against Owen. A couple of matches against Shawn.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the big Canadian Stampede match, which involves that whole list I just named, except Shawn. But yeah, so that's kind of how this started, was that SummerSlam match. And I'm like, man, I don't even know if that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10 best Bret Hart matches that I can think of. Okay, on to my number 8 match. Once again, 2019, Charlotte and Trish Stratus. Obviously Charlotte is one of the best, maybe ever, women's wrestlers, and same thing with Trish. And obviously this match being in Toronto, you had a hot crowd behind Trish. They gave it enough time. It went almost 17 minutes. And it was just it was a really good match. That was kind of the one I turned to. I was like, oh yeah, that would be the match. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that wasn't even for a title.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a match. And so yeah, Charlotte against Trish.
Nice. Yeah, I think kind of one of those sort of dream matches between individuals from two separate eras.
Right.
And I think certainly Trish is, I think considered one of the greatest women to ever, go in there. I think just the era she was in had a lot of challenges for her.
Yeah.
And I think certainly Charlotte, I think she is probably the best of her generation right now, at least in WWF
Yeah.
or WWE. So I think you get them together, it's kind of, similar to when we had The Rock versus Hogan.
Yep.
Same dynamic of different eras, kind of a dream match. And yeah, I think those always work well on big cards like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was that was a really good one. What do you have for what are we on? Number 9.
Number
Number
9.
9 for you.
I'm going back to SummerSlam 1998. The Rock and Triple H ladder match for the Intercontinental title.
Okay. I can see that.
I think what's interesting with this point is The Rock was not just yet The Rock. Triple H was not yet Triple H.
Right.
They'll say that kind of Austin, maybe Taker, and Michaels were still, the top guys, but they're just at that cusp. And I
Yeah.
think it also kind of sets in motion, the rivalry those two will have. That, from what you read about, it wasn't just in the ring. I mean, it was outside the ring as well. So I think, a really good match with two guys just about to make that leap into kind of that stratosphere.
Yeah, and this would have been just barely after Shawn quit. I mean, so
yeah,
what 4 or 5 months after Shawn quit,
yeah,
after Mania 14, and so Hunter was just sort of establishing himself as the leader of DX.
yeah, yep.
And
And I think just a good match between the two. I think it's kind of interesting seeing, as you said, Hunter's kind of evolving into what he's going to be.
yep.
You're seeing The Rock evolve into what he's going to be. So kind of an interesting time to watch those two, where they're going to be. I think sometimes it's fun to watch a performer, when they're making that ascent, to see some of those matches that are there during that time, not what we're going to see them at as the final product, but kind of on the way up, sort of see what's to come and the potential that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometime right around this time would have been when they tried to invade Nitro too.
Yeah, that was always a great moment.
Yeah. Apparently Kevin Nash on the other side, like, open it up. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, well, talk about one of those great what ifs of pro wrestling. What if they just let them in? I mean, bring them on your television, What, I mean, what are you going to watch? Are you going to watch Raw? Or are you going to watch Nitro? Nitro's ratings probably would have been through the roof.
That's always been one of those things where you've got to think they pitched that idea to Vince, and he had to have been like, listen, I don't care if they do open those doors. Under no circumstances do you go in that building.
Yeah, but then again, they go in, they do that. Next week, what show are you going to watch? You might, if you're WWF, you're going to promote DX's response to their actions last week.
That's true.
I mean, I think Vince, but I mean, it's one of those, I think that would have been awesome to see, because that would have been just, people's minds would have been blown.
Yeah, you see DX come out in this army Jeep with all these crazy cannons and stuff onto Nitro.
Yeah. I mean, how do you,
Yeah.
I think it's a missed opportunity for WCW there.
True.
And what's so funny with WCW then, they were all about ratings.
Yeah.
They cared about. They didn't really care about best matches, storylines. It was beating Raw consistently.
And they'd have beat them that week.
And they would have killed them.
I mean, everybody would have turned off. I mean, that would have been that would have been the Cactus Jack moment.
Yes.
Where everybody turned off their TV.
Yeah. Yeah, just the other way.
And it would have just gone the other way. Now whether or not WCW could have sustained it like WWE did is another matter, but
well, and I think what we see, I think this goes back to that match, The Rock and Triple H, is you're getting two guys that are going to really carry the company here in about a year or two, really becoming kind of the stalwarts. And I think what you saw in WCW, you always would have a good feud. But then where does it go from that? Nobody ever grows from it. You didn't see somebody take that next step. And I think that's ultimately one of the reasons why WWF comes out on top, because you get a match like this with The Rock and Triple H. A year or two later, they're going to be headlining your cards.
Yeah.
They built that depth up, and these guys also were able to adjust as characters to handle that. It wasn't just the same old, same old. I mean, that's kind of the same thing with Goldberg. His initial run was hot, but did he ever change?
No.
I mean, that's after a while, okay, I'm bored with this. There's only so many squash matches you can do. And once kind of that streak was broken and the title was off of him, well,
yeah, where does he go from here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously what is it? Survivor Series of '98 would have been when The Rock won the tournament over Foley to win the belt.
Yeah, so kind of, I mean, a pretty big moment in The Rock's career here, in his ascension to being, one of the greatest of all time.
Yep. All right, match number 9 for me, and this is the reason I had to go to 11. I had the tag match, I had Becky Lynch, I had the Charlotte match, and so I included the SmackDown Women's Championship match from that same 2019 show, Bayley against Ember Moon. Obviously, Bayley is another one of the tremendous women's talents that's on the card. So obviously that gives you 3 of the 4 WWE horsewomen with Charlotte, Bayley, and Becky. Obviously, Sasha is the one that's left out of this card. Yeah, I mean that match is not going to be, it's not going to be what Trish and Charlotte was later, but yeah, it works. It just, it didn't really seem fair maybe to leave that one match off when I put the other 3 on. So that's why I had to go to my top 11.
Fair enough.
Than just top 10. But of course now you've gone to 11 too with Virgil against the $1 Million Man.
Yeah, because we had the overlap of AJ and
Yeah.
Cena. So. Yeah, so really the last match I have, SummerSlam 2008, Taker versus Edge, Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
I think what I love about this, we often complain they don't have long builds for feuds anymore. Everything's just very quickly. I mean, this one, we have this thing going since Mania, and they kind of kill the feud in Hell in a Cell, which I think is natural. I think it's a great way to use that.
Yeah.
It's the way you should end the feud. And of course, you've got the great Jim Ross call, basically, chuck some straight to hell on Edge, I mean, just
yep.
all around, good match. Once again, 2 of the best ever to lace it up.
Yep. Undertaker and Edge 2000. So you did have the Cena and Styles match on your card. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't make note of that. I'll make note of that here. All right. 2008 Taker and Edge. That's interesting. That's more overlap because I have that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2008 Undertaker against Edge. Fantastic match, really. I went back and watched it again. I mean, they were going at each other. They were really laying it in.
Well, I think about this time with Taker, how many great matches he has in this era. This is still around the time when he's having the matches with Shawn.
Yep.
His matches with Triple H. I mean, this is, I think, what's remarkable about The Undertaker. I'm sure a lot of people have watched, The Last Ride and the documentary that's been going on. So we've seen kind of his last years, but we forget that it wasn't so that long ago that Taker was still putting in some of the best matches on the card.
Yeah.
And so I think that just shows his overall ability.
Have you seen that entire Last Ride series?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I think I watched the first 2, but I haven't sat down to watch. Is what, 5 episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't sat down to watch all 5. I still haven't finished watching Dark Side of the Ring either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, with that, for me, honestly, the first couple episodes, it was still so weird, Taker breaking kayfabe.
Okay, so this is odd because now we're to my last match.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Austin, and unless I missed it with yours, neither one of us have Steve Austin on the card.
Yeah, not on SummerSlam.
I mean, for me, I started looking through it, and I kind of knew right off that I wanted Matt and Jeff in the ladder match for the or not Matt and Jeff, Jeff and Punk in the ladder match for the championship. So that eliminates the majority of Austin's matches.
Mm-hmm.
And the only match at SummerSlam that he didn't wrestle for the world championship was 97. And that was when Owen broke his neck.
Yeah.
And that was for the Intercontinental Championship. And obviously you're not going to put that match ahead of Brett and Davey.
No.
So, and it was the same with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
He never had a match at SummerSlam that wasn't for a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's not true. He did have one, but I was not going to put a gimmick match with him and Billy Gunn with Billy Gunn's obvious stipulation in there. No, that wasn't happening.
And I think what's interesting too, you do have a Austin Taker match from SummerSlam. But by both accounts, both of those guys say, it's not one of their finer moments.
Yeah.
And I think Austin gets basically a concussion in the match and is kind of out of it. But I think, so you think on paper, Austin Taker for the strap, man, that's not a bad one,
Yeah.
But I think just it doesn't work out. I think there's some guys that certain events, you're hard pressed to find a match for them.
Right. All right. So last match for me. We've got the showstopper, Shawn Michaels against Hulk Hogan.
Wow. Nice.
2005. Just for the spectacle of the thing.
Folks, if you ever want to learn how to bump,
watch
that match.
If you want to learn how to oversell everything, go watch that.
And you can see how mad Hogan is in that match too. Like you can see it. I mean, that's
you can. That match is the just prime example of what happens when neither of the two participants in the match are really keen on doing business.
Yeah.
Because as I understand it, that was supposed to be a 3-match series where, Hogan was eventually going to have to do a job, and then he ended up with some kind of injury or something.
Not going to do the job.
And it was like, okay, well, we're just going to do this one match, and then Shawn's just going to lose flat. And, I think Shawn was like, yeah, okay, you want me to lose flat? All right, I'll make this whole thing look stupid.
Yeah.
And they both went out and they, did what they did.
Yeah. It's a fun match. I mean, like, I don't know how you would, it's one of those things you wouldn't say it's a great match. It doesn't really a great story. It's two great, two icons in the ring.
Yeah.
But,
2 icons in the ring.
I think you can get away with it because it's entertaining. Train wrecks can be entertaining.
Yeah, they can. And this one was. And it was a long match too. It went 30 minutes or so. I didn't actually do the times to see how long my my matches went.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So yeah, there you go. Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels. Nice. Have we thought this one far enough through to do the commentators here? I'm having to think. I really want to do. I want to do Heenan and Monsoon again.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking, and I don't remember if they ever were on commentary together at the
totally
Rumble.
Sure. I think honestly, for a lot of the matches we have, you almost wonder too if you're trying to book this show, would their style work?
I think it would.
I think what I'm just saying is it's hard to kind of, I mean, I think for some of it, you might say maybe JR and the King is a better fit for a lot of these matches.
True.
You know,
All right, let's see. Let me go through this and see what we've got. 1988 was Gorilla Monsoon and Superstar Billy Graham. I'm not listening to Superstar Billy Graham for 3 hours. Sorry.
he might make you buy his book.
Yeah. SummerSlam 89, Tony Schiavone and Jesse
Ooh.
Ventura.
You know, that's not a bad team, actually.
It's not. It's not. I don't know if I'd go with them though, because I don't remember that show enough, but I wonder if those two guys would sort of work out, if they would meld right. SummerSlam 1990, Vince McMahon and Hot Rod. SummerSlam 91, you had a 3-man booth. Oh, it was Gorilla and Bobby, but it was Roddy Piper with them again. And honestly, I think Hot Rod did more of the work there than Heenan did, because Heenan got up and walked out of a couple of matches.
Right.
92 was Vince and Bobby Heenan. What a maneuver.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine Vince McMahon trying to call a TLC match.
No.
You can only say what a maneuver so many times.
Yeah. Just keep hitting the reset button, repeat.
Yeah. SummerSlam 93. Obviously, this is the one where Lex Luger went against Yoko, Vince and Bobby. 94, Vince and Jerry Lawler. No, where are we here? Oh my gosh. 95, this would be a spectacle to sit through. Vince, Lawler, and Doc Hendricks.
Ooh.
AKA Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was the worst. I couldn't remember his name. I could see him.
Yeah.
I knew where I was trying to go there. I knew who that was. I could see him. 96, Vince, Mr. Perfect, and Jim Ross. 97, still Vince, Jim Ross, and Lawler. So that's the first appearance of Lawler, and Lawler and the King together. There it is. 98, Ross and Lawler. So Gorilla and Bobby were never together as just the two of them. Yeah. So I wouldn't stretch it to that. Obviously I'm not having Billy Graham. I've watched that 1989 card and I swear I don't remember Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura. There was just something not there between the two of them, because Tony didn't have at that time. Now 10 years later, he may have been able to carry it off, but at that time he just didn't have the personality, or whatever you want to call it, to hang with Jesse.
Yeah.
And so I think Jesse just overpowered it, and that's probably not the best. So yeah, I guess for commentators, I'd have to go with King and JR.
Yeah. And I think, for a lot of these matches, they would have worked for some. I mean, I think JR and King could have done some of the old school, some of the older matches if necessary, and they could do Attitude Era and modern matches if necessary.
Yeah. I mean, Ross could easily be in there for, Bret and Davey.
Yeah. Yeah, he could easily have told that story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Probably better than Vince did.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
All right, what about the venue?
Wembley Stadium.
Okay. Wembley. I'm trying to think if there's one that hangs with that. Let's see. You got the Garden a couple of times, but we went with the Garden for WrestleMania. And other than that, I mean, I think it's just been kind of nondescript venues, really sterile stuff. I mean, the Staples Center in Los Angeles held it for a stretch. Barclays Center in Brooklyn held it for a stretch. I tried to go to a couple of those shows, but they sold out those shows so quick. And I don't think anybody would pick the Air Canada Center in Toronto. That was last year's. Let me see if this thing lists. 2016, 2015, those are all Brooklyn. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Good grief. That's all the Staples Center. Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Continental Airlines Arena in East Rutherford. I wouldn't include that one just because that venue is not open anymore. The MCI Center in DC.
Still there.
That still is, yep.
Yeah. Just different name at Verizon Center now.
Yeah. The new Boston Garden. It was the old Boston Garden. I'd consider it. Some arena in Phoenix. 2002 was in Uniondale, New York. Sorry, we're not going to upstate New York. San Jose. You know, I would be a homer and go with the PNC, but I don't even have the match from there on my card. So, the Gund Arena in Cleveland.
Still there.
Still is. United Center, the Palace at Auburn Hills. I think they just barely tore that building down. I think that might have actually been within the last week or two.
Yeah.
That they tore that building down. The Philly Spectrum.
That's gone.
Yeah, it's the Wells Fargo Center now, right?
I know the Spectrum's actually torn down.
No, I mean that was the Wells Fargo's the replacement.
Yes. Yeah.
Right on the freeway.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not going to go with the Garden again because there was really nothing iconic that happened in the Garden for SummerSlam. So, yeah, you know what? I think I'll go with Wembley too.
Well, I think, it's a unique venue. I mean, certainly one of the more famous stadiums in the world. You think some events that happened there?
Although, if we're doing this torn down thing, it's not still there either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I'd still go with,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the crowd, it was, and also the spectacle of it. I mean, it had WrestleMania-like shots at SummerSlam. That you don't always get that.
Right. Oh, speaking of SummerSlams, what was funny? How long has it been since you've watched SummerSlam 1991?
It's been a while.
Okay. I probably wouldn't, because I never noticed this before, but this was probably the first time I watched that show since me and you went to the Garden. When they do the Big Boss Man and Mountie match, they cut out of that match. They take the Mountie outside, and then there's like at least 20 minutes that they just spend time covering the Mountie going to jail, and they do some interviews.
Nice.
This was 1991 during a pay-per-view, and they took time out of this national television pay-per-view feed for intermission in the Garden.
Wow.
I would not have noticed that. I don't think had we not gone there, I wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah.
They took time out of the middle of this worldwide pay-per-view for intermission at the Garden so everybody could get up and go get their bathroom break and their popcorn. So that was funny the way that worked out, because I don't think I've ever seen that before. I've never paid attention to it during the old WrestleMania because I never thought of it.
Right.
And that was probably the first show from the Garden. It would be funny to go back and watch SummerSlam 88 to see if they did it there too.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll check it out this week and find out.
Yeah, I might do that. Oh, and the funny thing with Hogan, I guess if you were going to put Hogan on the card, surely the only match you're going to do with him is the Shawn match.
Yeah.
because 88 was the Mega Powers match
Mhm.
against DiBiase and Andre. 89 was the classic involving Zeus.
Oh, who can't forget that one?
Who can't forget that one? 1990 was when he Earthquake,
Yep.
and then 91 was obviously the handicap match with him and Warrior against Slaughter and whatever name Iron Sheik was going against at the time, and
Right.
whoever that job guy that they got to be the third member of the team. And I don't think that's going to be on anybody's list.
No, not a lot of great. I mean, once again, you think about SummerSlam, kind of like Austin, not a lot of great Hogan moments
No.
there. You think for a major pay-per-view, you think for these two iconic figures in company history, you think they have some pretty big moments there, and just isn't how it worked out.
Well, the match with him and Savage as a team,
Right.
was interesting. Obviously, you've still got Hulk and Andre continuing their feud, but if I would, okay, I tell you what's one thing you remember about that match?
I think it's just the fact it's the Mega Powers. That's the big draw of it.
Okay, I was going to say that if anybody remembers that match, they remember it for the finish, where 32 years ago this was a big deal, where Liz pulls off that bottom part of
Right.
her
Yeah.
dress and gets up on the thing, and it's
Yeah.
ludicrous to think about it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like, wait, what? But
Yeah.
yeah, she took off the bottom part of that
Yep.
outfit she was wearing, and that distracted DiBiase for long enough to lose the match.
Yeah.
And that's probably the only real memorable thing about that whole about the whole match is
Yeah.
that. Because I'm sure nobody remembers Andre putting a headlock on somebody.
No. No, not at all.
Yeah. But all right, that is our top. I was gonna like hold my hands up, but I can't. That is our top 11 SummerSlam matches,
Including Virgil.
including Virgil. Yes, Virgil got a mention on the show today.
So hopefully we'll get some free meat sauce as a result of this.
Yes, Virgil, if you see this, we expect to be treated to food at Olive Garden.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't want to have to pay for an 8x10 either.
Gosh. Oh man. Yeah, we're not paying for the 8x10, Virgil.
Yeah.
No, just give it to us free. Signed.
Yeah, signed. Yeah,
Signed.
absolutely.
And don't bait and switch us and say the $1 Million Man's going to sign it, and then he doesn't.
No.
All right, man. You got any final thoughts?
No, I think it was fun going down memory lane. I mean, I think, what's remarkable is think about how long I've been a fan.
Yep.
How much I've seen,
Yeah.
after a while, you're like, man, it's been a while, and I think it's fun to go back and look at stuff from certain years in wrestling. And, for me, 1992 is one of my favorite years in wrestling.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fun going back and seeing that and revisiting it and seeing how the show has changed through the years. It's, good time.
Yeah, and 92 was the year you went to SummerSlam, and that was when Perfect turned on Flair, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you went to the Royal Rumble, and then Perfect and Flair had the match on Raw.
Yeah.
Where Flair left.
Yep.
All right. Well, fans, we appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you again next time.